Neil, obviously a sad day.
Oh, hugely. I was very close to Phil for over a year. We knew for a while he was, gravely ill, but it's still a huge shock when it comes, and it's devastating, really, not just for myself and my background team and the whole of the club, because he's such a huge figure here for a long time and presided over some fantastic moments and fantastic times at the club, and he's massive shoes to fill.
Yeah, and obviously an awful lot of people have been paying tribute as well, along with yourself.
Well, I'd like to think so, because he's a great football man, and he covered a huge spectrum of the game, not just at the highest level, but he took an interest in the academy, he took an interest in non-league football in the area in general, but his heart and soul was here, and I don't think any other individual put as much into the club as what Phil has done in his time here.
And of course, when he was on the FA board, he instrumental, I guess, in some way in the appointment of Roy Hodgson and the rebuilding of what has come to be known as the new Wembley as well.
Yeah, I always felt he had really good ideas on the game, whether it be what he wanted to achieve here at Bolton or for the game in general. He was an intelligent guy, very, very affable, and he had a real dry wit as well. He was always good company, but football man through and through, and he lived and breathed the club, and he took, I was only with him for just over a year, but I know he took an enormous amount of pleasure in seeing the younger players coming through as well, the likes of Vela and Clough and Tom Walker, because it just meant that little bit more to the club to see, young players coming through, homegrown players. And then he's presided over the Premier League years, which had Bolton punching well above their weight for a consistent period of time.
And yet again, Neil, it's another situation that you find yourself in terms of, since you walked through the door at the Macron Stadium, you've had all sorts of things to deal with off the field. This is yet another of those situations that you find yourself in and talking about, sadly.
Yeah, well, I mean, this, all the other stuff compares into insignificance at what I'm feeling about the loss of Phil today. And no matter, it's going to come, but it's still a blow and a shock. To me, my family, he was very good to my family as well, and I have to say the way his family have conducted themselves over the past couple of months has been amazing, and all our condolences go to them. What
effect do you think this will have generally now, because life has to go on, football will continue, and you've got very, very important fixtures ahead of you?
Well, I'd like to think the players would make a stand for Phil now and do something positive in his memory, and that is to survive. We've given ourselves a foothold in the race now, but we have got some difficult fixtures to negotiate, but there's an extra motivation now, as if I didn't need any more, and I know that some of the players were close to Phil as well and had a great relationship with him, so hopefully through all this sort of bad times there might be something good comes out of it in terms of driving the club forward.
Yeah, and Brighton, of course, is the first of those difficult matches.
Very difficult. They've had a fantastic season. They went a long time unbeaten and they had a wee dip, but they look like they're back to the form they were showing early on in the season, so it's going to be tough, and we're well aware of that. But all the games are going to be tough from here on in, and it's how we approach them mentally and keep the players as fit as possible and enjoy the challenge.
As Jack says, if there's one thing that this season's hammered home, it's whatever happens, it still comes down to what goes on the pitch. And I suppose on the pitch, from the recent weeks, there's plenty to take heart from. Unbeaten in 3, and those must-win games at Rotherham and against MK got results.
Yeah, I was very pleased with the approach the players took, and they had a great performance at Wolves, where with a better team and could have won the game as well. But the win on Saturday, having not played so well and grind out a great result, is hopefully giving the players a little bit of should be a psychological boost.
Maybe some long overdue good luck as well, because as you say, it wasn't the best performance.
Yeah, I think we've been I think if any club's had bad luck this season, it's been us in spades, and you're hoping that'll turn in our favour. I didn't think we deserved to lose the game. I think it would have petered out the draw, but thankfully we got the break when it came, and I know the young player grabbed the headlines.
And you've got guys like Jay Spearing who are sort of rewriting the history at the club. If you go back to the start of the season, people would have thought you've even got a future here. The fact that you've got this small squad now, I guess everyone knows they're going to play. They've got an opportunity. Does that kind of galvanise them in a way?
Well, I hope so. Jay was lacking in confidence for a while, but he seems to have rediscovered his form, and in the last 2 games he's been excellent. He scored a great goal at the weekend, and his performances at Wolves away was probably his best performance in my time here. So that's great. Liam Trotter being injured's a blow, because he was showing some really good form of late. But hopefully we'll have Zach back, and Neil Dans is fit now as well. And we're waiting on to see how Gary Medine's going to be over the next couple of days.
And Kane, you've mentioned in previous weeks, he seems to be growing in stature at just the right time.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got a lot of work to do. We know he's raw, but he's got tremendous pace, and he's got a wee eye for a goal here and there. And to see him score the winner, is brilliant confidence for the young lad, and he's taking his opportunities very well.
Smashing. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Neil, have you got any other? You mentioned a couple of players there, but any other team news? Any other players coming back?
Dean Moxie, he had a dead leg, but we're hoping he will train today. And I think that's it really. In terms of players being fit for the weekend.
But looking slightly healthier than...
Slightly,
Yeah.
Losing Trotter's a blow.
What's his injury, Neil? Sorry.
Hamstring. And he felt
He's
it.
done well.
Yeah, he did do well, and he felt it during the game, in the period he was on. But he was able to play on miraculously, I don't know, but he does have a slight tear in there. It's not massive, but the prognosis will be maybe 2 to 3 weeks.
And just going back to Phil, how important is it that the rocky times the club's experiencing now don't overshadow the legacy of what he achieved?
I don't think they will. You just look around the place, it's a totally different club to what it was probably when Phil first walked through the doors. And I think he has made a massive contribution to that, and I think we should all be very grateful for what he put into the club and what he achieved here.
Because these days it is rare, isn't it, to have owner and chairman who are so steeped in the club.
Yeah, and again, that was an attraction for me. There was no foreign ownership. It was bread and butter type football, traditional. He was a real football man, and I will miss him terribly. I had a great relationship with him, and he's not been around for the last couple of months, and there's been a big hole here.